So I'm not 100% sure what I think of this makeup. Like, the blue isn't normally something I wear in real life, but because we're doing like a sea theme today, I wanted to do sea themed makeup, so I'm going with like blue and glitter, and it's fun. I like it, okay? I'm having fun with my face. So recently I have been a little bit obsessed with learning as much as I can about octopuses. I know this is going to sound really weird, okay? This is a completely different video from like what I normally make, but I want to do something a little more sciencey. And you guys know I love animals, and I love learning about animals and finding out about them. And I recently read this book, at the end of last year actually, called The Soul of an Octopus by Sy Montgomery, and I became a little bit obsessed with it. It's amazing. So it's easily one of my favourite books that I read throughout last year. It was amazing. Once I started, I just devoured it, and I absolutely loved it. Reading this led me to research way more about octopuses as animals, and also kind of like other animals associated with them, like squids and cuttlefish, nautiluses, all those kinds of like mollusky type animals, and cephalopods. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've only ever seen cephalopod written, and you guys know I struggle with like basic English at the best of times, because you know, I'm actually northern and we don't know how to pronounce words. So I'm hoping I'm saying that right with cephalopod. I don't know, either way they're really cool though. So after reading this, I'm currently making my way through 2 of the books. One of them I've barely started, but I'm loving it so far, and that is Other Minds, The Octopus and the Evolution of Intelligent Life by Peter Godfrey Smith. And the other one is more of like a fun, I kind of pick it up every now and again read, and that is A Visual Scientific Guide to Octopuses, Squid and Cuttlefish. And this one kind of really brings out my nerdy side, but it is amazing. It's so good. And also it's full of really beautiful like pictures and diagrams and really fun stuff. And I'm learning so much from this book, and I love it. So because of this, I kind of wanted to talk about octopuses today, because I'm kind of feeling really passionate about it at the minute, and I just wanted to do a kind of really fun, light-hearted video that wasn't anything too serious. You know, we've had a lot of serious, heavy stuff on my channel recently, and I wanted to do something a little bit fun, kind of share something I love with you guys, and maybe you guys can learn something, maybe you guys can share some facts and stuff that you know with me in the comments, maybe you can tell me about your favourite animals and stuff you love. I just thought it would be a bit of fun, really. Don't get me wrong, I'm by no means any kind of expert on octopuses or any other animal. I'm just a big fan, which is why this video is going to be kind of like part book review about this book, part just like me rambling about some fun stuff. Is that okay? I hope that's okay. So Sy Montgomery's book, The Soul of an Octopus, documents her experiences observing and getting to know octopuses both in captivity at the New England Aquarium in Boston, but also in the wild as well. It's a really amazing kind of in-depth personal account, and I really enjoyed that. In places, it reads more kind of like a diary or a memoir than a kind of scientific animal nature book, if that makes sense, but I kind of liked that about it. It made the animals seem so much more real than just reading a regular textbook or regular article. It's a lot more personal than either of these two are. These two are a lot more like scientific and science heavy. This one's a lot more kind of like emotional and getting to know the animals on a kind of human one-to-one level. I think there's a place for both books, and I think both are wonderful. Or I think there's a place for both styles of books, if that makes sense. I don't have a preference for one over the other. I think both are very good, both are very useful. It's just, yeah, they both work in their own ways, if that makes sense. It really gives you a chance to understand the kind of distinct, I guess you could say like personalities and quirks, and the kind of real unique differences between different octopuses. Like, and I mean individuals, not like different species of octopus. I mean like individual octopuses. You see them all having very distinct personalities and being very different from one another, behaving in different ways. I got super emotional at some parts of this book as well. I literally cried in places. Maybe that's because I'm just a mushy, emotional person, but I also think it's because I got so emotionally invested in this book and the animals in it, so there's that. Like I say, one criticism I would give to the book is that I think I would like a little more science in it. Kind of, not necessarily heavy science, but just a touch more science in places. It's very good at giving the kind of basic scientific facts about octopuses, their physiology, their behaviour, studies that have been done like around them. It does go into detail in places about how certain biological functions work, why they happen, how they happen, but there are also places where I would like just a little bit more detail, just a tiny bit more. But like I say, where this book falls short, these two pick up on it. So all three together, I'm getting a really nice, big, complete picture of octopuses, if that makes sense. And it would be unfair to expect it all in one book. Especially when she was talking a lot about the kind of like consciousness of the octopus, whether it has a soul is, I guess, her main question, or at least what she comes to define as a soul. I would have liked a little more science about the neurology behind it, about the biology and chemistry of an octopus. And without this kind of like scientific base, I did begin to wonder kind of to what extent the distinct personalities of the octopuses that she wrote about, how much were actual distinct personalities and how much was the result of kind of a human projecting expectations onto animals. Does that make sense? I did wonder how much of it was like legit octopus personalities and how much was human projection. I don't know, I'm not sure. I think that's something that's going to kind of like require me to do a little more reading and a little more research and a little more finding out for myself. And I do want to kind of keep visiting aquariums and meet some octopuses myself and stuff like that. I think it'll be amazing. I did go to the Sea Life Centre in London just before Christmas in the hopes of seeing the octopus there, but he was hiding that day, so I only saw the top of his head and I didn't get to meet him properly or take pictures of him like I really wanted. But I'm kind of hoping to go back there in the next couple of months, maybe see if I can see him again. They do feeding every morning. I think it's around like 11 a.m, something like that. So hopefully I can get there at that time and actually go see him being fed. That would be amazing. I would love that. Anyway, despite what I said and some of my kind of like, not necessarily doubts, but questions, I guess, I do think that octopuses are definitely underrated in terms of their intelligence and most people knowing kind of what level of consciousness they do have. And I think it's something that perhaps more people should be aware of, especially when it comes to eating them. I don't want to get too preachy here, and I don't want this to sound too silly, because like my own personal thoughts on this aren't fully formed opinions yet, and I'm still not 100% sure where I stand on some things. At the minute, I do still eat some meat. Anyway, this isn't about my diet. I don't want to get into this too much right now. I don't want to have to feel like I'm defending myself and my choices, because this is not what this video is about, and I'm definitely not trying to push an agenda. I want to bring this point up because I think it's something worth discussing. I'm still in two minds. I still haven't made up my mind, so this is kind of somewhere where I want maybe like your input on this. So this one isn't my opinion, but I think it's one worth talking about, right? There is this argument from some people, like Rationality Rules, Stephen, he comes up with this argument, and he can probably explain this a lot better than I can, but from what I understand, he doesn't like eating meat when he knows the animal can feel pain and understand what that pain is. Like, they have this level of awareness where they can sense pain and stuff, and he thinks if an animal can sense pain like that and have this level of awareness about it, then we shouldn't be hurting them on purpose, which I think makes a lot of sense. So I think that's basically his opinion, which is why some people, I think, find it okay to eat fish, but not to eat like mammals and birds, because I think they think there's a different kind of level of awareness and consciousness and stuff there. So this is where the problem arises for me, because I love squid. I love calamari. Every time I go to a restaurant, especially like an Italian restaurant or a nice place or whatever, calamari is like my go-to treat. I love it. And now I'm not sure I can eat it anymore, because I always just assumed, yeah, it's an animal, but they don't really have a consciousness. They don't really have like this level of self-awareness, and it turns out they do. And now I'm really conflicted. You know, obviously like cephalopods aren't fish, so we can't compare them there, but as we'll get to in a minute, octopuses in particular have a very similar brain size to that of, say, a cat or a dog. They have very similar like intelligence levels to other animals. Their brains are so advanced, and it's, yeah, I kind of wonder with a lot of people, if they knew how advanced and sophisticated animals like octopuses and squids are, and they knew how aware they were of their surroundings and their feelings and so on, would people still be comfortable eating them? Because I'm not 100% sure if I am anymore, but I don't know if that's to do with their level of like consciousness, or more to do with how I've now got this like emotional attachment to the animal. I don't know. It's a weird one. And like I say, I haven't fully thought out my opinions, and I don't want this to turn into like a me preaching thing, because I don't have anything to preach. I don't have these like fully formed opinions yet. I don't really want anyone to like critique my opinion on this, if that makes sense, because I don't know what my own opinion is. So what can you critique? It's just, yeah, this is kind of like an argument I've seen put forward, and I think maybe it's something worth considering. Does that make sense? So let's talk about actual octopuses and learn something about them, right? So octopuses are cephalopods, which means they're a class of mollusks, which also includes things like squids and nautiluses and cuttlefish. There's a great summary in Sy Montgomery's book about octopuses that says, here is an animal with venom like a snake, a beak like a parrot, and ink like an old-fashioned pen. It can weigh as much as a man and stretch as long as a car, yet it can pour its baggy, boneless body through an opening the size of an orange. It can change colour and shape. It can taste with its skin. Most fascinating of all, I've read that octopuses are smart. I think that's such a wonderful summary, and it does make you realise how kind of fascinating and interesting and unique these animals are. There aren't really many that can do all those things, and it's just amazing, and they do have so many skills that other animals just don't have. For me, they're really worth learning about. They're amazing. One of the things I really love is that the name cephalopod apparently roughly means like head foot, which refers to the fact that generally they don't have this kind of like intermediary body section. Their arms or legs or hands or limbs, whatever you want to call them, are basically just attached straight to their head. So head foot. You know, like with an octopus, you have the head and then you have the tentacles. There's no like intermediary body or torso section, if you want. As we all know, octopuses tend to have 8 tentacles, which are covered in literally hundreds of little suckers. Like, it's not just like 5, 10, 20 on each arm, it's literally hundreds on each arm. It's amazing. Again, to quote Montgomery from her book, she writes, each arm seemed like a separate creature with a mind of its own. In fact, this is almost literally true. 3/5 of octopus's neurons are not in the brain but in the arms. If an arm is severed from an octopus's body, the arm will often carry on as if nothing happened for several hours. Isn't that just the coolest? Oh, it's like the pure number of neurons in their arms means they have this incredible, or tentacles rather, I'm just saying arms, but it means they have like an incredible amount of control over them, but also they're so sensitive to picking up signals from around them and from the things they touch and taste and sense. It's amazing. They can literally like taste you with their suckers and pick up on things like what your mood is, because of like, you know, humans like essentially excrete chemicals and waste and stuff from their skin, through their sweat, all this sort of stuff. When an octopus touches you and tastes you and like, you know, feels you with their little suckers, they can pick up on all these different things in your skin, and they can sense different things like what your mood is, if you've been drinking alcohol or taking drugs recently, if you've changed medication. For example, I think there's one story in this book about someone who, I think maybe they'd recently taken up smoking, or they were like, the octopus met a smoker for the first time, something like that, and the way they reacted, they were like, nope, do not like this taste, nope. I think that's so cool. Again, to give you a quote from the book, because I think, you know, reading out some of these bits, like, explains it way better than I ever could, and I just want to share them with you. Just one of Athena's, so Athena is one of the octopuses. Just one of Athena's suckers was enough to seize my complete concentration, and she had 1,600 of them. Each was busily multitasking, sucking, tasting, grabbing, holding, plucking, releasing. Each arm on the giant Pacific octopus had 2 rows of suckers, the smallest at the tips, the largest, 3 inches across on a big male, perhaps 2 on Athena, about 1/3 of the way to the mouth. Each sucker has 2 chambers. The outer one is shaped like a broad suction cup, with hundreds of fine radial ridges stretching to the rim. The inner chamber is a little hole in the centre of the sucker, which creates the suction force. I just think it's amazing. They're so advanced and so cool, and they can learn so much about their surroundings just from touching and tasting. It's amazing. It's like, because we obviously have the sense of touch, we have our sense of smell, which is essentially picking up on chemical signals, and we have the same kind of sensory neurons in other parts of our body as well. We have the sense of taste, but octopuses combine all that in their tiny little suckers. This idea of like picking up on chemical changes, tasting things, feeling them and their textures and stuff, picking up on temperatures and pressure, and it's amazing. They can do all that with their suckers. Can you imagine how different life would be for us if we could gather that much information from people just from our hands? I mean, we can definitely tell some things from people, but not this much, not just by touching them. The octopus brain is incredibly complex as well. So octopuses have around 500 million nerve cells, I think it is. Not just in like their brain itself, but throughout their whole body, which is comparable to say like a dog, which has between like 600 and 700 million. So, you know, okay, they have like around 100 million less, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not too much. And because their nervous system is structured so different to a dog or a cat or, you know, like a mammal, basically, I think, you know, their levels of intelligence and awareness and so on are pretty damn comparable. They're pretty similar. And scientists have found that, like, their actual brain itself has around, like, 30 distinct lobes, although some say, you know, there's as many as, like, 50 or 70 in some species, and, you know, depending on how you define what a kind of specific lobe or region is, I guess you could say. And if we're just talking about the actual brain bit itself, how that is structured and shaped is so weird, because it's essentially, like, donut shaped, and there's this hole in the middle, and do you know what passes through that hole? The throat, the food hole. And of course, this is a big evolutionary oopsie, because this can cause so many problems, right? Imagine if an octopus eats something sharp and it gets stuck in their throat, right? With us, we're like, ooh, no, it's stuck in our throat. That's a bit painful, that's a bit sore. Maybe we should go see a doctor about it, we've got some time. No, if an octopus eats something stabby and sharp and it gets stuck in their throat, chances are it's going to go straight through and pierce the brain. Which no one wants a big stabby thing in their brain, do they? There's actually been a lot of, this is really, really sad, there's been a lot of dead octopuses observed with, you know, things that they've eaten stabbing them in the brain, and it's killed them. Kind of heartbreaking, really. So that's a big, you know, evolutionary oopsie. So for all the amazing, like, evolutionary advancements and cool things about octopuses, they still have some problems, you know, they're not perfect. The other thing that I think is really, really cool and worth mentioning is their skin. So you might have heard that octopuses are really good at camouflage, but they're not just really good at camouflage, they are unbelievable experts. And, like, you need to see some videos of this. Unbelievable. Seriously, like, when I first saw these videos, I was like, this can't be real. It's amazing. So to explain this, let me read you a passage again from The Soul of an Octopus, because it explains this way better than I ever could. For its colour palette, the octopus uses 3 layers of 3 different types of cell near the skin's surface, all controlled in different ways. The deepest layer, containing the white lucifores, passively reflect background light. This process appears to involve no muscle or nerves. The middle layer contains the tiny iridophores. These also reflect light, including polarized light, which humans can't see, but a number of octopus predators, including birds, do. The iridophores create an array of glittering greens, blues, golds, and pinks. They're associated with the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which helps with contraction of muscles. In octopuses, more of it turns on the greens and blues, less creates pinks and golds. So she just put in, this basically means they have a neurotransmitter which can control how blue or how red or green or pink, whatever, their skin turns. So it's kind of like a spectrum. And it's like the more of the neurotransmitter they add, the greener it gets. If they stop releasing that neurotransmitter, they turn more of a pinky red colour, which means they have really kind of precise control over like what colour they are on a nice spectrum. It's really smart. So to go on, the topmost layer of the octopus's skin contains chromatophores, tiny sacs of yellow, red, brown and black pigment, each in an elastic container that can be opened or closed to reveal more or less colour. So again, similar sort of thing. The level of control they have over how they can look is insanely good. It's so impressive. Camouflaging the eye alone with a variety of patterns, including a bar, a bandit's mask, and a starburst pattern, can involve as many as 5 million chromatophores. Each chromatophore is regulated via an array of nerves and muscles, all under the octopus's voluntary control. And of course, the octopus can also voluntarily control its skin texture, raising and lowering fleshy projections called papillae, as well as changing its overall shape and posture. It's amazing, right? And that's another really cool thing. If scientists can study these structures and understand them further, maybe we can start to apply some of the same things to our future inventions or medical treatments or whatever. Like, what we can learn from this and the future possibilities are just so exciting to me. I think it's amazing. And this camouflage is really, really important, because it not only means they can just kind of like change colour to fit in with a leaf when they're stationary or something like that, like say a lizard can or a chameleon or whatever, but it means they can literally change the patterns on their skin. So they're not only camouflage when they're completely still, but they can be camouflage when they're moving, say, along the ocean floor. They can blend in with the ocean floor, with plants, coral reefs, other animals even, rocks, and they can alter those patterns as they're travelling. It's amazing. It means they can not only hide from predators, but run from predators, all without being seen. And it makes them great predators themselves, because they can sit silently and patiently hidden until something comes along that looks tasty, and then they can jump out, snap them up, eat them, all without being seen. It's insanely useful. It's amazing. This sort of stuff actually ties in really well to us talking about octopus intelligence, and one of the kind of most fascinating bits for me. If we're going to talk about intelligence and personality though, I want to start by reading you, again, this little passage from Montgomery in her book, where she writes, "Octopus and human intelligence evolved separately and for different reasons. One scientist believes that the event driving the octopus towards intelligence was the loss of the ancestral shell. Losing the shell freed the animal for mobility. An octopus, unlike a clam, does not have to wait for food to find it. The octopus can hunt like a tiger. And while most octopuses love crab best, a single octopus may hunt dozens of different prey species, each of which demands a different hunting strategy, a different set of skills, a different set of decisions to make and modify." She goes on later to write that without a shell, octopuses are well aware of their vulnerability and make plans to protect themselves. So basically, they have to come up with different ways to hunt for prey and different ways to hide from predators. These methods might include anything from like building shelters, camouflaging themselves, running away, essentially fighting, spraying their enemy or adversary or whatever you want to call them for fun, spraying them with ink or water, like blasting them. Lots and lots of different things, lots and lots of different ways. And octopuses have been observed using different methods against different, we're going to go with adversaries, I like the word adversaries. So they've been observed using different methods against like different adversaries. So it seems they literally think through, what is this other individual going to do and how am I going to combat it? A lot of scientists think this is proof that octopuses have this whole kind of like theory of mind thing, which is a really kind of complex, sophisticated cognitive process that was once thought to only be in humans, but now obviously it's suspected to be in some other animals as well, and it's been observed in other animals as well, which is kind of a really amazing, important jump forward and changes everything. It's amazing. It means that us as humans aren't really that unique and advanced if other animals have it as well. Basically, the whole idea between like theory of mind is that it's this complicated cognitive process where you understand the difference between yourself and others, and you understand that others are individuals with their own thought processes, their own beliefs, their own motivations, and that they're gonna behave and act differently to you. And when you can understand that, these individuals are unique and separate and think for themselves, you can start to empathize with them, you can start to put yourself in their place, you can start to think, well, what are they going to do? What are their motivations? And then you can start to think, well, how am I going to react to that, if that makes sense? It's a really, really advanced cognitive process that I think as humans kind of take for granted, but it's amazing, and it really does show a level of sophistication and intelligence in octopuses that we didn't know was there for a long time. I just think it's really, really exciting and interesting, and something that deserves so much more work and research being done into it. I think it's amazing. When we talk about stuff like intelligence and consciousness and personality in octopuses though, it is really tough. And this is one of the things that's addressed in The Soul of an Octopus. It's very easy to understand that in a lot of ways, octopuses are very smart, We've tested them and done research and observed them, and they love puzzles, they love playing with toys. They've been observed to be very, very fast learners. You can test their memory, their perception, their attention, and so on. They do memorize things and learn things, and they recognize people and remember them and so on, and they know what they like, they know what they dislike. While all this stuff is fairly easy to test, it's not so easy to know if this means if they have like an actual consciousness and at what level this is, if that makes sense. Sy Montgomery, I think, kind of equates this with an octopus having a soul, and in her book she comes to this conclusion. But what is the soul? Some say it is the self, the I that inhabits the body. Without the soul, the body is like a light bulb with no electricity. But it's more than the engine of life, say others. It's what gives life meaning and purpose. Others say that the soul is our innermost being, the thing that gives us our senses, our intelligence, our emotions, and our desires, our will, our personality, and identity. One calls soul the indwelling consciousness that watches the mind come and go, then watches the world pass. Perhaps none of these definitions are true, perhaps all of them are, but I am certain of one thing as I sit in my pew. If I have a soul, and I think I do, an octopus has a soul too. So I think this is a really nice thought, and while I don't doubt that she truly believes that, I'm just unsure, like I said earlier, how much of it is the result of her actual objective observations and how much of it is the result of her as a human being projecting her expectations and her own personality and essentially projecting human traits onto an animal. I'm not sure how much is like legit and how much is projection, basically, is what I'm saying. That said, as someone who obviously spends a lot of time around animals, and I think anyone who does will also get this, I think you guys will know that a lot of animals do display very distinct personalities from each other. You watch them, you watch their actions, you watch them playing, you watch them scheming, you watch them thinking things through, and you know, you can see that they have thought processes and they don't just act on impulse. They often think things through and, you know, you can see their little minds ticking over. You put Kyra in a room full of her little doggo friends and you can see each of them have very distinct personalities. They're all very different from each other. And so that's why I kind of think like, well, if dogs have that, why wouldn't an octopus really, if they have this similar level of intelligence and so on? So yeah, my point is, I don't really know anything for sure. And obviously I haven't done like years of research and my own research on what I'd taken my own observations or anything into this. It's just stuff that I've been learning over the last few months and really enjoying, and I just kind of want to share with you and put out there and like see what you guys think. But no, I'd love to know what you thought of this video. I know it's a little bit different, but hopefully it was a little bit fun and it's left you with some things to think about, I hope. Just as a little side note before I end this, I just kind of want to keep you guys in the loop with a lot of stuff, and I'm doing a kind of big I don't want to say like rebrand. I'm doing a big kind of spring clean at the minute, I guess you could say, of everything. I'm going to be updating all my Patreon stuff. I'm going to be improving all my Patreon stuff. I've got some really cool new things that I'm going to be doing with the merch store. I'm redesigning my website. I'm going to get a new URL. I'm going to get new everything. It should be really, really cool, I hope. Bear with me, be a little bit patient. There's going to be lots of exciting changes coming up, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. If you have ideas for things that you want to see me like make available or do more over on Patreon, then you can let me know either over there, drop me a comment, or drop me a comment down here in the comment section. No, it's all a big work in progress and nothing I've done has like been made public yet. It's just things that I'm working on in the background. Also, if you want to see more of me and you're interested in stuff, I did a really cool live stream the other night with some amazing people, including, well, Mr. Atheist hosted, and it was over on his channel, so I'll link it down below. It was really, really fun. We just played some games, we were all silly, we made some really terrible jokes, but it was a lot of fun. There was like Holy Kool-Aid there, Telltale, oh god, I can't even think, Bionic Dan, basically some really, really amazing people, and I had the best time. I had so much fun. I am like a little bit socially awkward, so I'm not the most charismatic person. I'm not the most like at ease person with other people, but those guys really did help me feel really comfortable, and they helped me kind of come out of my shell a bit, and like they're all so nice and so lovely, and I had a great time. And I just wanted to say, like, you know, if you want to go over and watch the live stream, please do, because it was a lot of fun and you might get a giggle out of it. I know I did. Okay, that's pretty much it. That was all my admin stuff out the way for now, I think. Shameless plug to end this is go follow me on Instagram, because I'm kind of enjoying building up a little bit of like a following over there, and it's really nice to like see you guys' comments and stuff like that. I post a lot about makeup stuff. I post about the books I'm reading. If you like dogs, I post a hell of a lot of Kyra, and also some photos of her friends like Harry and Miguel and Lil Pippa, or Lil Mustachio as I like to call her. And yeah, it's really, really fun. You can also see Dan, so you can finally put a face to the name that I keep constantly talking about. You can see some of my friends. I don't know, like, Instagram's just a really fun little place for me. I'm really into taking photos. My day-to-day photos aren't like top quality aesthetic, and they're just kind of like fun little snapshots into my life, and I really enjoy it. Anyway, my point is, go follow me over there at Rachel Oates, but with a 0 instead of an O, because I'm an idiot and I like to make things difficult for you guys, apparently. I'm shutting up now. Thank you for watching today. I love you guys so much. I really appreciate you, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.